Alright, so in this video we're checking out the GEPRC CineLog30 V3, and it's now updated for the DJI 04 Air Unit Pro. So before we talk about the specs and everything here, I just want to show you everything that comes in the package here. This is the version that comes with the 04 Air Unit Pro pre-installed. There's another version that does not have the 04 Air Unit Pro installed from the factory, so it's called the WTF-PV version. And they do make a note that this new updated V3 design, the camera mount is not compatible with analog and the 03. So it's basically meant for the 04. Don't know if that means it won't work for Walksnail. I'm pretty sure if we look at the camera mount a little later, for those of you Walksnail HD0 guys, you'll probably need some sort of a hack or a modification, 3D printer parts, something like that, to get it to work, but officially it's not supported. So before we get into the Cinewhoop here, look at everything that comes in the box, and you get a spare set of prop guards. Instead of the orange color, it comes in this sort of translucent black, and we get a spare set of props. One is on there already, and this is the HQ 76mm by 3, and sort of a slightly bull-nosed prop, typical for a Cinewhoop. Bunch of spare parts here, spare battery strap, battery pad, a couple of spare dampeners for the camera mount, some screws, and a couple of tools. Standard set of documentation, including your stickers, disclaimers and warnings, safety notice, QR codes to their website and other social media, download for the user manual and support page, get the manual for the 04 Air Unit, of course, and their quick start guide, typical stuff like basic setup and beta flight, etc. We'll talk about that here in a second. You also get these GoPro mounts that I did not install. So it comes in orange, gray, and black, and they're supposed to go above the camera mount here. So it obviously will help protect the camera as well if you flip it over. I decided not to install it, but there's these screws here. You're going to remove those. I think there's some alternate screws, longer ones you might need, as well as the screw holes here. And then this kind of just sits on top like this. So it does give the camera a little bit of extra protection for those of you that are concerned about that. But this is mainly for attaching like a naked GoPro, something like that. It's not standard GoPro mounts. It's probably meant for a naked GoPro. And this is like injection molded plastic, so pretty tough. Alright, so taking a look around, pretty standard CineLog design here for the last, I guess, since the V2, which I did not get to review, but I finally got to review this version. I think there was a 03 version that was V2, but this is now V3 with the 04. Got these CNC aluminum sort of front braces here. The whole, prop guard is just a single piece here, and there's, I think, let me see how many things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws to mount it. So it's going to be that one there. There's one right there. You got on the underside here these two here, and these two here. And that's if you take all those screws off, then this whole bottom section will come off. And then of course this carbon plate here, I think it's about 3mm thick, a single piece. It holds basically everything. It holds the motors, holds the flight controller, and then there's a special expansion like breakout board, which is really not going to come out. It's not going to come on video here. I'll just put a little picture of what it looks like. Basically, that's attached to the flight controller, and then on this breakout board is the receiver. In this case, it's an Express LRS receiver. They do have a TBS Crossfire version as well if you're interested, but if you don't want a receiver, they have a plug and play version with no receiver, of course. So you got the receiver on that breakout board. You have a buzzer, got the capacitor. You've got an this XT30 connector there, and then you have a little button here for the DFU. Basically, it's for the bootloader button on the flight controller. So obviously, the flight controller is very buried in there, so you can't access this. That's what the breakout board serves. So you got the bootloader button there, as well as this is the USB-C port for the flight controller to access your beta flight settings. And it's got this little silicone cover here to make sure that no dirt gets inside. And then this is the antenna mount. It's kind of a hard silicone, slightly flexible, but it's not TPU, it's not 3D printed. So this is some sort of injection molded soft plastic for mounting the antennas, and they kind of go into these little grooves right there. And then when it comes in the box, the antennas are not installed. They're just kind of sitting flat over here, and actually they're attached to this arm right over here with some, like a sticker saying that you need to install it. And the only other thing you have to install is the battery pad. The battery straps are already installed, and of course you should probably install that little cover there, but I elected not to do that. The props were already installed, so the only thing I had to do was bind up the receiver with my binding phrase, and I just put in my rates through Betaflight, and I didn't change any settings, and I went and flew it in. A couple more things here before we talk about the flight footage. The motors on here is pretty standard for 3-inch Cinewhoop. It's a 1404 3850 kV, so this is running on 4S. So I believe the previous versions are running on the same motors. A lot of 3-inch Cinewhoops are running on 1404 motors. Very, very common. Totally fine for Cinewhoop flying. Little bit of acro freestyle, but mostly for smooth and slow capture footage. The all-in-one flight controller in here is an F722. It's called the Taker, the new series. It is 45 amp ESCs, but they are BL32 ESCs. And as you guys know, that the BL32 project went belly up, and they're out of business. So they, as a lot of these manufacturers that put the BL32 firmware on here, or they're using some sort of pre-production version that you can't upgrade, because obviously you can't do firmware upgrades anymore. You can still use the BL32 configurator to change settings like motor direction, timing, that kind of stuff. So that's available to you. And interestingly enough, they're still using 24 kilohertz PWM frequency in here, which is quite remarkable because we all know that that's going to interfere with the camera. But I can report that, and you'll see in the footage, it's completely smooth, no jitters. It is really, really done well. And I think that's a testament to the camera mount that's on here. So they're using these 4 rubber dampening balls. It's again right there. So you can see this one right there. And this one back there, hard to see. And then this whole tray here is holding the camera and prevents any kind of vibrations whatsoever getting into the camera. You don't see anything, no matter how aggressively you fly. And you can see that this piece here is meant for the 04 Pro camera. As you can see, it's got the wide screw mount there, and you can see how much it pivots there for the angle. So yeah, it's kind of remarkable. It's using 24 kilohertz PWM frequency, but you have no jello, no vibrations coming through, and that's just a testament to how well these vibration dampeners work in this sort of camera mounting system. I think it does a really good job. Additionally, the tune is excellent. Probably one of the best ones I've seen in the CineLog series. And if you're looking for a nice out-of-the-box Cinewhoop experience, GEPRC does pretty good pid tunes overall. Although the last GEPRC drone, the Vapor that I reviewed, was a little bit on the wobbly side, probably because it was a larger dead cat. But this one here is really locked in. Definitely no complaints on the pid tune on this one here. I was able to fly both aggressively and nice and slow and controlled without any issues, and even in a little bit of wind, it didn't seem to care at all. A couple more things to show you here on the bottom. So you do have these LEDs that are embedded in this sort of in the prop guard edge here, and obviously if you're switched to prop guard, you're probably going to have to remove this over, pull it out, and move it over. The bottom here, to access the flight control, not the flight controller, but the 04 area, there's 2 covers here, and I'll just show you one. This one over here in the back side is for the USB-C ports for the 04 Air Unit Pro, and this one here is on the other side, and that's going to access the bind button and the micro SD card slot on this side. So there's these little silicone covers here. They are pretty easy to pop out, but they're a little bit of a pain in the ass to stick back in and get them in. Okay, there it goes right there. There's a little flap right there that sometimes catches and it will not go underneath. But that one, it went in totally fine that time, so worked well on camera. Okay, so one last thing before we talk about the flight footage. Give you the weight And let's see if I can get this to show up on camera. 187.3. So that's no battery. The recommended batteries are the 660 and the 720, and these are the ones from GEPRC. There's the sort of flat 4-cell, kind of like this configuration here, and it kind of just sits in here like this, and then you just plug in the XT30 like this. And then with the 660, we're at 250.1, so just a hair over the 250 gram limit, at least on my scale, although I think they advertise it for being under, so yeah, we're within, obviously we're within a tenth of a gram. I don't think anyone's going to care. So this is what I flew it with. And then if you want the larger flight time, there's a 720. They're advertising like over 8 minutes of flight time on that. On the 660, I got about 6.5 minutes when I felt like, okay, pretty much at the end of the battery was pretty low. And then when I let the battery rest, you have there at the end of the battery, it kind of sags to like, I think it sagged to like 3.4 if I remember right. But then it came back up, and when you kind of let it sit for a few minutes, the voltage comes back up and it came up to like 3.65. So I thought that was pretty reasonable for a 6.5 minute flight. Okay, so we'll end the video here. I'll show you some flight footage. I'm going to show you the DVR footage here, the on non-stabilized footage. I'll put the stabilized footage as a link down in the video description. So, initially at the start of the battery here, I'm just kind of flying very aggressively and testing things out and seeing how it does freestyle, if I experienced any prop wash oscillations. And none of that happened. It was really locked in. Pretty much I felt like I could do pretty much whatever I wanted with this in terms of like acro moves. So if you're a really aggressive and experienced pilot, you probably can fly this to your heart's content. Obviously understanding that it does have these prop guards there, and it does mess with the CG a little bit, so you kind of have to know how to fly that. It's not going to fly the same as a 5-inch freestyle quad, so just keep that in mind. So I just want to point out the differences there. I don't want to say it flies like a 5-inch because it absolutely does not. But if you understand the limitations of a Cinewhoop with the prop guards on, you should be able to make it do whatever you want. So, flying this as a freestyle is probably not my first choice anyway. So I wanted to see how good the footage would be when it's flying nice and smooth and controlled. I wanted to see if there's any jello. I did have an ND filter on here. These are the ones that GEPRC sent me. They sent me their ND filters for the 04 Pro. And I have an ND8 on here. So it's got some amount of motion blur, if that's what you're looking for. I think I set the shutter to 1/250, if I remember right. It's either 1/250 or 1/320. So I don't usually go all the way down to like 1/120 because I'm flying 4K 60 here. Typically, I don't like that much motion blur. It's sort of a subjective thing. So if you don't like it, that's because I like it. I like a certain look. Maybe you don't like it. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And of course, that's going to be in the obviously the stabilized 4K footage. So you go watch that if you're really interested in the kind of image quality I captured with this particular quad. But yeah, overall, definitely a very good out-of-the-box experience. Raise setup. Pretty easy to get very high quality footage out of this, and obviously the 04 Pro is going to give you the very best image quality from a digital system currently for FPV. Obviously, if you want a different kind of look, you can put a different camera on here, of course, with that camera mount. But in my opinion, the 04 Pro 4K 60 footage is just as good as the Action 4, Action 5, and the GoPro 12 and GoPro 13. That's my opinion. Feel free to change my mind down in the comments if you feel like my opinion is incorrect. But yeah, you can look at the footage yourself. Let me know what you think. I think it's amazing. I think this thing flies great, super locked in, very, very, very good pid tune in this one, and with very little effort to set up. And you just basically grab it to go, put in your settings, and go fly and capture really good footage. I think you'll be happy with this, and the flight time is very good for the amount of battery you have. So that'll do it for this video. Link will be down in the video description if you want to check it out, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.